I mean, maybe we'll eventually grow into being in character.
Maybe.
As we get used to it. But I guess for now, so once again, thank you for joining us. I'm Ray.
I'm Dilatan, the dragon of the bed. It calls to me.
No, do that again. We're not leaving that in there.
Oh, come on. That's good. Welcome, listeners, to the World of Dragons podcast, the WAD Pod. I am Dilatan, the dragon of the land.
I am Ray, the dragon of the sea.
And I am Bantam, dragon of the air.
And today we're going to be talking about Witch Dragon, a very under-the-radar movie published by Sony Entertainment and exclusive to Netflix.
We're going to start by just going over the general plot, the pacing, animation style, and all that. Try to remain mostly spoiler-free in case you decide you want to watch it and you haven't seen it yet. Then we'll take a small break and come back with some more in-depth and spoiler discussions about some of the plot twists, the characters themselves, and the like.
And definitely, if you have not seen the movie yet, please go watch it. It is an amazing movie, and it deserves more love.
It is amazing, though the humor at times is a little slapsticky. Like, it felt like it was made for kids.
I mean, yeah, it is a kid's movie.
Well, like, more so than, like, your traditional, like, Disney or Pixar.
The fact that the entire movie made it look like the animation style, everything looked like it was made out of felt, but I actually really liked it. Like, everything was very soft and inviting looking.
Yeah, everything looked great. My concern with the animation style, and why I say it was mostly made for kids, was it was also very spastic. The movement was very sudden, very jarring, and very, like, I don't know. I don't want to just say childish because that comes across as insulting, but it was very, like, a Saturday morning cartoony in its movement.
Yeah, the characters were very elastic. Yeah, that's a good word to describe them. Like, every human seemed to just stretch from point A to point B.
So, I mean, how could you say that? I mean, it's clearly obvious that a human being can bend their leg 360 degrees and then straight vertical, like, up against the side of their head. I mean, that seems completely logical to me.
Maybe. I'll be honest, I fell asleep during human anatomy when I was in school.
Well, that's a good example of the slapstick humor, was that freaking the villain that uses his feet in place of his hands in, like, literally everything.
Literally never takes his hands out of his pockets.
A couple of times, but I mean, like, rather than point where people should go, like his little underlings, he brings his foot up, like, to his, pointing his, like, the toe of his shoe to his eyes, and then forward. It's like, okay, yeah, no one bends that way. Which is fine. It's a cartoon.
It was pretty funny because you've got this character that just looks so brooding and evil, and then he's just doing the silliest things with his legs.
Yeah, he couldn't be any more evil if he tried.
But yeah, I guess besides him with his weird leg anatomy, the only real spastic guy, I guess, was the dragon itself, yeah?
Well, the main character, when he, made his first wish.
Compared to the other two, he was not as spastic. That dragon was all over the place.
But he's a magical creature, that's fine.
I guess we should have started by saying that the plot itself, it's very Aladdin-esque. It was definitely an Aladdin retelling. And so the dragon is taking place of the genie. I'm pretty sure most people have seen Disney's Aladdin.
Not me.
Okay.
I swear I said most people.
Most normal people. Most normal people that had a childhood.
I had a childhood. Land Before Time. Best movie series ever. For our listeners, for a bit of backstory, I have not seen, like, 95% of all movies published.
And I have taken it as my personal mission in life to try to get him up to speed.
We're at, like, 6% now.
Nah, I wouldn't even put it that high.
Oh, okay.
I guess it depends on what you consider to be all media he's got to watch. There's a couple of, like, really unknown things that he can probably skip. Whatever.
I got him through all the Lord of the Rings and RoboCop, so I'm happy.
But yeah, so Long, the dragon, was definitely... They're trying to make him as active as Robin Williams' genie, I guess. And so that's why they made him very spastic.
I will say that, gun to my head, between Aladdin's genie and Long, I would take Long in a heartbeat.
Why is that a gun to your head moment? He's a dragon, and we're a dragon podcast. Of course you take him. You're kind of biased.
Well, because everybody would, naturally be like, oh, I love Robin Williams and I love the genie. And it's like, the genie was spastic in an annoying way. Longzhu was spastic in an adorable way.
Now, if he wasn't a dragon, would you still take him over the Aladdin genie?
Yes.
All right, so you just like the way he presented himself and his personality better than the original genie.
Yeah.
Quote, the original genie, the quintessential.
So the original genie was a lot more friendly and a lot more amicable to begin with. Whereas, so there wasn't really, in my opinion, a lot of character growth for Genie and Aladdin, whereas there was actual character growth for Long.
There's a lot of character growth.
We'll get into that growth later. So we touched on the animation style. How about the pacing of the story? Was there any point where, like, you felt like the movie slowed down, it needed to just get on with it? Or was there instead times where everything was moving too fast, they should have definitely added like 15 minutes to the runtime to kind of explain things better?
So, for me personally, I thought the pacing was perfect. Usually when I'm watching a movie, there are times where I will just like lean back in my chair and just be like, kind of glance over at my other screen or glance at my phone, or, like, this is boring. I don't feel like this adds to the story. I do notice, like, even when I go rewatch movies that I love, there are times where I'll zone out because the story is slowing down or the scene isn't particularly interesting. But with this movie, I don't think I ever really got to that point. Just the only scene that came close was when, well, we'll save that for the spoiler discussion. But there was only one scene that it got really close, but then immediately like moved to the next scene, and I was like, okay.
I'll be honest, I was going to do that. I actually had Skyrim up on the other computer, because I'm the kind of person that has to have his hands moving. I can't sit still. But probably after the first 5 or 7 minutes, I went ahead and minimized it, and my attention was focused right on the movie. So I passed my test.
Yeah, I usually watch movies on my second monitor as well while I'm doing something else, whatever, browsing, social media, playing a game, just something. In fact, I did the first time I saw it because I was kind of just, I guess, scouting it out. But the second time I watched it with you guys, I had my attention focused completely on the show. And yeah, I thought the pacing was pretty good. Like I said, with it being spastic at times, there are definitely a few times where it felt like it moved really fast, but that's the kind of humor they were going for. So it was alright. I didn't feel like I got lost at any time.
Yeah, and going back to something that Dilatan mentioned in the intro, I did not even know this movie came out. I vaguely recall maybe like a year or two ago hearing word about this movie, like being in production or something, maybe like a teaser image, but then never heard a thing about it after that. And then just suddenly like, oh, hey, do you want to watch Wish Dragon? It's on Netflix. And I'm like,
yeah,
wow, okay.
Yeah, this movie got zero advertisement, and I'm kind of surprised considering the production value that went into it, because I feel like it's on par with the animation. Well, what do you think? Sing Along? Be a good comparison?
You mean
Sing?
Sing, yes, that movie.
Just Sing. Yeah, I felt it was on par.
The other thing is like, you think that, so I found out this movie was produced by Jackie Chan, which was surprising to me. I mean, I watched Jackie Chan Adventures growing up. I love Jackie Chan movies. Jackie Chan's an all-around awesome person. So the fact that he produced it, at the end, it was just kind of like an aside, like, oh, produced by Jackie Chan. And it's like, oh, damn.
Well, in the Chinese version, he actually voices the dragon.
Oh, interesting.
Does he? He voices Long?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's time for a second viewing on my spare time then.
That's definitely a bit more hands-on than I was thinking, because when you said produced by, I'm like, doesn't produced by just mean they funded it? Like, they didn't have anything to do with its production?
Producers typically sometimes have a more active role in some...
Because that's director, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever. Not super important. Oh, right, I was going to say, when it was first announced, I believe it was going to be called The Luck Dragon. And I swear it was like 5 years ago, but like I said, I could be remembering the amount of years wrong. and then it kind of just vanished. I'm pretty sure this changed hands like several times, and that's why it was delayed further and further. So I don't even know if the original story was going to be Aladdin-esque, but it's been kind of in development hell for a while, I would say, and I've been keeping a relatively close eye on it, and so when I heard it was coming to Netflix, put the little mark on my calendar, like, all right, finally get to watch this movie. I've been looking forward to it for a long time.
Yeah, according to this, it has 4 different studios that worked on it: Beijing Sparkle Roll Media Corporation, Sony Pictures Animation, The Monk Studio, and Tencent Pictures.
So with the opening scenes, like the first 15-20 minutes, I don't consider that to be spoilery. We do find out that... Shit, what was the main character's name?
Shit, I didn't write it.
We all care about the dragon's name, but not the main character.
Oh, Din.
Din, right.
I did write it.
So Din comes from a single-parent family. It's just his mom. And Bantam, being the half-breed dragon, you also only have a mom.
Yeah.
Would you say that this kind of impacted you differently?
I would say story-wise, it did pull me in a little deeper than another movie, any other movie would. There have been other movies where the main character, or at least a main-ish character, only had a single parent, and it was usually the mom. I never had a father throughout my entire life, and your mom kind of fills that role of mother and father at that point, and so whenever a character has a single mom as their parent, I tend to feel a little bit more for their struggles, their story, their trials. It sucks me in a little bit more than it would normal people.
Yeah, just at the beginning, he's getting teased by another kid. I don't think the kid says anything. He just makes a face. I can't remember. But then, like, that kid's parent is all like, "Hush, she's trying her best," or whatever.
Yeah, that did happen a lot in my life. There were a lot of times where other adults would reach out to help my mother, because I'm the oldest of 3 boys, and so there were a lot of times where we couldn't do the things that a lot of other families got to do. A lot of times it was just hit or miss whether or not we would get through the month, and so yeah, I sympathized with that, and I wanted to boot that kid's head across the street. So
now let's talk about the real tragedy in this movie: the death of Din's pet chicken.
Oh,
I feel like the directors really missed an opportunity to bring this character out into the light, instead they just kill him in the first 5 minutes.
It's like
you just wanted the chicken to be a character from from Moana.
Well, no, but in Moana it wasn't even a character. They introduced 2 different animals, the pig and the chicken, and then the chicken has maybe a minute of screen time.
His death was so tragic, though. They loved that chicken like a pet, and then they kill him and eat him.
Yeah. So again, tying into the Aladdin similarities, the beginning of the movie, after he gets teased, he ends up meeting another girl, ends up becoming friends with her. We then have a montage of them spending time together as children, and part of the montage involves them getting a pet chicken. I think they just hatched it from the egg and they just had to keep it.
Yeah.
And then a bit later on, they're crying. It's a little tombstone with some feathers, and then they're mourning the loss of their pet chicken, and then they bring up out of frame in their hands, they're holding fried chicken drumsticks, and they just start eating it while mourning the pet.
Well,
and it's like, oh my god.
It's sad, but at the same time, it's like,
It's another example of the slapstick kind of comedy they're going for.
I don't know if that's necessarily slapstick or just the Chinese culture. I mean, you wouldn't let that go to waste.
Poor chicken.
I don't know enough about Chinese culture to weigh in on that.
Rest in peace, Clucky. Always in our hearts.
And now our stomachs.
Around that time in the movie with the whole Clucky thing, there's this one scene that I kind of got a chuckle out of, where they're running on the rooftops with a kite, and the kite is kind of pulling them along, and at one point the kite passes over a laundry hanger, and the kids pass under it, and then they just keep going. And I'm like, okay, I guess the string doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why I have this superpower to notice obscure, stupid things in the background of movies and TV shows, but I do. And I saw that, and I just immediately was like, really?
I mean, come on. In a movie like this, physics doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also reuse a lot of their models. I've seen other people point out reused models that I didn't notice the first time through, but one that I noticed, I guess we'll get more into it later, but one of the neighbors from his little apartment tenement, I feel like one of them gets reused later at the party scene, and it just completely threw me off. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He was living a secret double life.
Something like that.
All right. I have a question for you, Ray.
Hmm?
Diletan is not allowed to answer this question because he has not seen Aladdin.
Excuse me.
Rating how the main character comes into possession of the magical vessel that holds the magical creature. Would you say that Aladdin did it better, or would you say that this movie did it better?
Better as in more believable?
Just more enjoyable. Like, in Aladdin, he goes down into the Cave of Wonders to get the lamp, and then he's trapped down there, and he rubs it. And poof, genie. In this movie, he's an Uber Eats driver, delivering food to a crazy old man at a dilapidated, half-demolished building, and the old man goes, "I'm a god!" and then tries to pay him in a little jade teapot. And the kid's just like, all right, and then leaves with it.
Just leaves because the man's obviously crazy and doesn't want to get shanked.
Obviously crazy.
I don't even think they're trying to pay him with the teapot. I think he's just trying to shove the teapot at him. Poor guy never even got a $7 dollars or whatever.
Chinese currency.
Yeah.
Equivalent of $7. Did they change the money to dollars in the English?
No physical money was ever shown, so I'm not sure.
Did they never speak the currency out loud?
He did. He said dollars.
He'd said dollars, so they did change it. Even though it's supposed to be like yuan or something?
Actually, you know what? No, I'm not actually sure about that.
No, he said yuan.
Oh, he says yuan,
Okay.
so they didn't change the currency. Alright, but that's cool. Which one did I like? Which one do I think did it better?
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by better.
Well, the reason I ask is because on Rotten Tomatoes, there's a lot of reviewers who compare this to a quote-unquote Aladdin ripoff. And, as if Disney's never been guilty of ripping things off. I just don't think that that's fair. There are so many things that this movie did differently than Aladdin, and it's like, okay, I feel like everyone's just upset because it's a magical creature that's confined to a magical device.
That grants 3 wishes.
That grants 3 wishes.
And the kid wants to try to get back with the girl.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would say did it better. I think they're different enough that it's fine.
Okay, that's fair.
To be fair, all 3 of those are just standard movie tropes.
Yeah, one was a magical treasure trove, and he ends up getting double-crossed after retrieving it for him. And then Wish Dragon was just a mystical force of the universe, I guess. Kind of random, I guess...
choosing him, maybe.
Fate-inspired, yeah. But yeah, I felt like they're different enough. It definitely would have been a bit more tropey if it was a double-cross like with Jafar in Disney's Aladdin, but whatevs. I was fine with it.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to ask you guys, did you notice any, audio sync issues, lip sync particularly? I feel like it was originally done in Chinese, and then they translated it to English, and they didn't bother changing any animation, because I felt like the lips didn't match up quite right.
With Din's friend, yeah, I noticed it, but with the dragon and Din himself, not really. Of course, I had it in the back of my head that I knew this was a foreign movie, so there was probably going to be lip-syncing issues anyway, and I just kind of tuned it out.
For me, I didn't notice at all because I, for some reason, have this weird attention problem where I can hear what's happening, but I choose to look in the background and look around at the whole scene or setting. I'm usually not paying attention to people's mouths. I hear what's being said, and I'm taking in everything around the main character. Alright, so we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back, we will be getting into the spoiler discussions, where we will be talking about the plot. So if you have not seen the movie, go watch it now. All right, and we're back.
I hope you enjoyed the movie.
Just go watch it a second time or a third time.
Yeah.
It's worth seeing more than once.
Every time you watch the movie, a dragon gets its wings.
I mean, yay.
All right. I want to start by talking about how absolutely handsome, adorable, and perfect Long is for an Eastern dragon. When he first came out, like when he first made himself visible, I actually did not even realize that he has legs for the longest time because they were so neatly tucked in against his body. I just thought he...
Yeah, they tuck in super tight.
Super tight. To the point where, like, I started looking for them after Ray informed me he actually does have legs. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, there they are. It's like little nubs. I love the fact that Long had 0 issues with personal space.
Oh my god, he had no concept of personal space at all.
No, it's just absolute all over you. Loved it.
One thing about his I guess his touchy-feely personal space thing, and since we're in the spoiler part, I guess it's okay to say this, the fact that he was originally human, he uses his tail for a lot of stuff. I feel like that's not something that you would just naturally do if you were originally human.
Well, he's also been a wish dragon for hundreds of years. I mean, since...
Thousands of years.
Is it thousands?
Thousands of years, yes.
Okay, so, I mean,
it's at least 1,000. I know the word 1,000 comes up. I don't know if it was plural.
I know
no,
that
it was 10,000 years that he was, I guess, cursed as the wish dragon.
There's no way that it was 10,000.
There's
no way it was 10,000 years because it took place during a dynasty in China.
I don't think China existed 8,000 BC.
Could be metaphorical.
No. No. Yeah, I believe that if I were to wake up tomorrow and I have been changed into a different creature with different appendages or limbs, spending the next several thousand years as that form, I'm going to learn how to use them.
Okay, but we don't know what it was like inside the pot, aside from the few gags he did where he was super tiny inside, like, it's been 1,000 years, or whatever in his little high-pitched voice. He could have, like, not been physical in there, it could have just been, like, a consciousness kind of just floating around, or it could have been no perception at all, so it felt like, I'm done with this master, and go back into the pot, and immediately, boom, next master. Right? So I don't know how much time he had to play around with his little dragon body.
That's true.
I still felt like it was a lot of his mannerisms didn't make sense with someone who was originally human.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he did it because, like, there's just something special about a dragon with no personal boundaries.
Oh yeah, the amount of coiling and just like
degeneracy warning.
The amount of coiling or just having his arms crossed over his chest while he used his tail for everything was pretty neat. Because they, could have gone the lazy route and just had him use his hands for everything, and then the rest of his body would just be decoration.
Yeah.
He definitely utilized every part of his body when he was trying to make a point or talking.
Yeah. It is definitely the kind of thing that we look out for. There's a term for it. I don't know what the term is. I'm not even going to pretend to guess what it is. But when unique body shapes impose different either advantages or disadvantages to normal circumstances, I don't know what the term is, but just enjoying that. It kind of fits into why I wanted to start a podcast that focused on monstrous or non-human entities, because I like seeing just, I guess, normal circumstances just through different lenses. In books, it's going to be their point of view. In like movies and stuff like this, it's going to be seeing how they physically act. So definitely seeing him use his additional appendages or his just longer body as opposed to a normal bipedal form, I enjoyed it. It's definitely fun to kind of just see how a creature like that would act.
Yeah.
Especially in the modern setting, too, when he's starting to discover the wonders of cars and buses, the taste of shrimp puffs, learning about flying jets, and discovering the horrors of traffic jams.
And the fact that cell phones or TVs, where he was like, that man is trapped in that little box.
I mean, that's a gag that anything that they use a lot. Any technology deficient person that either through time travel or just, I guess, two different technologically advanced societies, and they move from one to the other. The tiny person in the box is overused, honestly.
It's still a classic, though.
It's a classic, but it's a little overused. It's like, okay, come on, let's get some new jokes. The traffic jam scene was good, though.
Oh, yeah, no, I loved it. He's trying to annoy Long and then flying him out. Okay, so going to Din's 3 wishes. Maybe we get anything to talk about. His first one, where he becomes a kung fu master to fight Mr. Foot, because I don't even know if the bad guy with the white suit has a name.
Let's just
I'm just going to call him
Mr.
Mr. Foot.
Call him Midas.
No, Mr. Foot.
All right.
Midas is too spoiler. Later on.
We're in the spoilers.
Right, but the fact that it's a twist at the end doesn't make sense to call him Midas. Mr. Foot is fine, but I'm pretty sure he's got an actual name.
But anyway, I don't remember Din actually specifically asking he wished he was a kung fu master.
Oh,
I feel like
he did.
He said, "I wish I knew how to fight."
Yeah, he was cowering against the wall as they were encroaching on him, and he shielded his face, closed his eyes, and goes, "Oh, I wish I knew how to fight."
Yeah, it was definitely a fake wish, not a fake wish, but like
a monkey's paw thing.
Yeah, you say it without realizing it, and it gets counted.
It was a fine print wish. It was you said the words in the order they needed to be said, and I need to make 3 wishes, so done.
Okay, the second wish, where he wants to try to woo his girl. I'll be honest, this was probably the most kind of eye-rolling part of the movie for me, because whenever it deals with trying to win the girl or any sort of romantic scene, there's always a set pattern, or like this little goodie box, all the directional to pick from, where it's just like the same rhythm over and over again. You'll see it over and over, where he tries to, being a poor peasant boy, uses his riches to try to woo the girl. Now that she's a supermodel, but then it turns out it's like, oh, I don't care about all the money. I don't care about all that. I love you for who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly why people complain it's an Aladdin ripoff. Because in Aladdin, the titular character Aladdin himself wishes to be a prince so that he can be with Jasmine, who's a princess. And in this movie, he wishes to be a princeling, which I don't know if that's a real term or not, or if they just tried to do that to pay homage to Aladdin. But he wants to be a princeling so he can match or fit in with the society that his childhood friend is now a part of, so he can fit in and actually get close to her.
Yeah, the both of them, that was probably the closest that I would say it got to Aladdin, where they both felt like they needed to have all the set dressing for being rich, powerful, influential, but they also completely 180'd their personality. Whereas Din was very humble and kind and generous, now he was just showboaty, kind of a jerk. Not necessarily on purpose, but he using his kung fu powers to kick her giant ice statue into the air, and then
that wasn't him being a jerk though. That was him trying to get the attention of the crowd so that she wasn't being put on the spot because her dad didn't.
Yeah, but it was accidental because he didn't plan on doing that to the statue. It was falling, and so then he kicked it into the air. Point being is his powers or his first wish kind of kicked in to become a showboat, and that's not what he would do. I don't feel like his personality, that would be something he would even think about doing.
Well, when they actually meet up for dinner, Long did give him relationship advice.
A bunch of bad advice, yeah.
Oh, and it was
from
all
1,000
wrong.
years in the past.
Yeah, it was treated. Don't listen to anything she says.
Talk down to your servants.
Yeah, talk down to your servants. Whatever they bring you for food, send it back. It's not good enough.
Well, this is where I would execute her for insulting royalty.
Yeah, I also want to another thing, because again, I have this ability to find mistakes in movies. Not necessarily like, haha, you screwed up, but they established in the beginning of the movie that, or when Long first came out, that no one can see Long except the one who is in possession of the teapot. But then Long takes on human form to go to the party, and everyone can see him. And, people are interacting with him, and as he starts to get drunk and parts of his body start turning back into dragon form, he's having to hide it because clearly people can see him. And it's like, but you established that, even later on in the movie, there are parts where Din can't see him because he's not in possession of the teapot. So it's like a little inconsistency there, but it was all right because it was done for slapstick and it was funny.
Well, okay, so one of the ways it varies from Aladdin is it has a little bit of Cinderella in there. Because during the princeling part, when he's like, I need the car, I need the assistant, I need the fancy clothes, like, Long is like, no, that doesn't count as one wish. That's a lot of different wishes. It's not a package deal. So he makes it a package deal by making it only for 24 hours. So I feel like him taking the part of the assistant means he would be visible for the 24 hours where he's playing that role.
That's true. Okay. All right. I pull back my
I mean, it could also just be them making a mistake, and I came up with a clever reason why it works, and they're like, oh yeah, that's what we meant the whole time.
Well, to be fair, they didn't explain in the movie either way, so the fact that you came up with that, anyone could have come up with that, so that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah.
I also want to bring up the fact that one of the other things about me is that I can't stand very common tropes. When something is escalating toward a conclusion and I see that conclusion coming a mile away, it's kind of aggravating.
Yeah, you hate tropes and you love having your expectations subverted.
Yeah, and this movie was equal parts predictable and unpredictable. There were a lot of scenes where I'd be like, yep, this is going to happen, and then it would. And then the very next scene, I'd be like, well, this is going to happen, and it completely goes off the rails. And I was like, that was awesome. That was way better than what I saw in my head.
Which scene did you have in mind that subverted your expectations?
Mostly the during the dinner scene, when the bad guys show up to I don't know if they were going to kidnap the girl or if they were going to attack him, but the fact that
I think they're going to attack him to make him tell them where the teapot was.
Right, yeah, and he essentially kidnaps her, and they go out into the street and they get involved in a float parade, and in my head they were going to just hide inside of a float, and that would be the end of the scene. Like whenever there's a character, and I have seen a lot of Jackie Chan movies, whenever there's a character chasing another character through a busy street and there's a parade, it always ends with someone hiding among the parade and getting away with it. And the fact that they immediately saw him and were like, no, and then they jumped into their own dragon parade float, and they had a literal dragon fight with, and then
they're kicking each other out of the mouth, so it looks like their tongues. It's like a little floats and making out, which is another example of how this is so slapstick.
I loved it though; it was so funny.
Enjoyable slapstick is still slapstick, Bantam.
I know. Oh, I never complain about slapstick. There are, movies that go so they drop the bar down a cliff, where I can't watch them. But this movie never even got close.
Yeah. As far as like subverting expectations goes, I liked the twist towards the end, where I guess about the time when. Oh, so the entire time, Long has been like, just wish for money. That's what everyone else wishes for. Money fixes everything. Just because he just wants to get this over with, because this is his last master on his little checklist, and then he gets to go back up into heaven. And then when Din finally agrees, like, you're right, I should just wish for money. That's what I'm going to wish for, because that's all that matters in this stupid world. And Long is like, it's your wish. You can do what you want, but first I have to show you something. And we get tragic backstory Long, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. I don't know if that is really considered expectation subverting.
It did for me. They could have.
It was a twist that I enjoyed.
Yeah, they could have just foregone the whole teleporting him to ancient, China and showing him how miserable and alone he was in death, and he could have just told him, like, I had no friends and I died alone, with all my money, and it did me no good. He could have just explained it away in 15, 20 seconds, but showing it had more of an impact. That whole scene kind of hit me hard.
Yeah, because right before that, Long is also looking through the window. I don't know why he was being sneaky, because no one can see him, but he's looking through the window, watching Din just have fun with his family, and the girl is there too. I forgot her name. and then he invites him inside, like, "Hey, come on in," because Long just didn't know what it was like to, I guess, have people close.
Yeah, he was unfamiliar with essentially friendship, companionship, love. Everything was very cut and dry, black and white for him. I'm in
The power of friendship will save you.
yeah, and yeah, when Din invited him in for dinner, that kind of hit me in the gut. When going back to when you said, Din was going to make his third wish. Before that, Din came home and he was obviously very upset, and he storms into the house, and Long is trying to distract him by telling him that the shrimp puffs that he's been enjoying, human snacks, don't actually have any shrimp in them, and Din just brushes him off and ignores him. Seeing Long kind of break a little bit, because he's always been either arrogant or overly friendly, and now he's just suddenly destroyed because he's realizing that his advice has completely ruined this kid's life.
Yeah, so that's a good way that it differs from the Disney Aladdin. And I keep trying to say it's different because I want to defend it from these people who are like, it's an Aladdin clone. It's like, no, it's different enough. It has enough twists and turns. One of them being that Long is learning a lesson out of this rather than, because I don't think Disney's genie learned anything. He was just kind of there. It's Aladdin that did all the learning in that. But, and then with how the third wish is used, that was also different and much better.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from Diletan in a while. Diletan, what do you think about the plot and what you were expecting out of it? You haven't seen Aladdin, so I don't think you can say it was a clone.
Yeah, I have no basis to compare it on, to be honest.
There are several Aladdin clones out there. It's a relatively easy story to do. I think Popeye did one, way back in the black and white cartoon days. Have you seen any Aladdin clone at all?
Not one.
Oh, okay. So this being your first telling of the Aladdin story, what did you think about it as a whole?
Okay, so I did like Long character's growth from going from an arrogant, just hurry up, get your three wishes out of the way so I can go back to heaven, to actually caring about him. And the flashback that you mentioned earlier did cement the actual reason for him turning, because if it just explained it, like you said before, it would have had zero meaning. And to be fair, at this point, I'm kind of just reiterating what you guys have said. Personally, being my first, I guess, quote unquote Aladdin movie, I did greatly enjoy it. I mean, granted, most of it's biased because the main magical character is, of course, a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that did kind of catch me off guard, edit that last part out. I can't really think of anything.
So no more catching you off guard?
Yeah, nothing catch me off guard.
You saw it all coming.
Honestly, kind of, yeah, I did.
Since you never heard the Aladdin story before, was the story good? Was it a good, believable story, or was it kind of, I don't know?
I mean, I know the Aladdin story by just hearing it through proxy of everybody talking about it when I was in, I don't know if it was a good topic when I was at school, but I mean, just everybody bringing it up to reference, oh, this is kind of like Aladdin, oh, let's see, it kind of reminds me of the genie, this and that. I'm able to piece together the story as a whole, and I mean, yeah, it does follow the formula pretty closely.
Okay. All right.
So I want to talk about the villain.
The
Kick, the foot guy.
Mr. Kicks, not a Mr. CEO.
Yeah, Mr. Kicks. I do like actually, sub point there. The fact that the quote unquote main villain is shrouded in shadow and talking quietly and telling the, Mr. Kick guy, take care of it, and you're like, oh, there's the real villain, and it turns out that he's not really. He's actually a very sympathetic man, and I actually felt really bad for him. And that the kicking guy was truly the villain. When he finally gets a hold of the pot and he makes his first wish that everything he touches turns to gold, that was probably the first and only moment in the movie where I almost legitimately facepalmed. because
we know how this ends.
like you don't have to study ancient writing to know the story of King Midas. It's been in hundreds of video games and TV shows and whatever. It's a very common trope. Everything I touch turns to gold, and it's like, well, you can't touch your loved ones, you can't touch any object that is alive. But another mistake in the movie is at one point he touches a puppy with his golden hand, and nothing happens to the puppy because you can't show that.
That's a puppy.
Hold
you can't
on.
do that.
Hold on, I have an idea. This is going to be me playing devil's advocate again, but I have an idea.
All right.
Perhaps he has heard of King Midas, right? And he is just the kind of arrogant bastard that thinks he can do it better, right?
Mm-hmm.
We never hear him say the wish. We just see him get the pot. He says, I know what my first wish is going to be. And then we go see Din on the floor or whatever, and then we look up at him standing on the scaffolding, and his hand's turning gold, and he touches the metal beam or whatever, right? We never hear the wish. What if his wish was, I wish that everything that when... I don't know how he would word it, but his wish is basically, anything that I touch with the intent will turn to gold. Which is why when he's holding onto the puppy, he's holding onto it because he's trying to stay balanced and not fall off. It doesn't turn to gold. He starts turning the car to gold because he's intending to touch Din, and he just happens to dodge the punch.
Okay, but that wouldn't explain how he essentially killed himself.
Oh, that's true.
He touched himself as he was falling to his death by accident, and then looked at himself in horror as the gold started to spread.
Alright, so my idea was great up until then.
Also, I don't think that he would have intended to kill Long, because...
well, he didn't know he was going to touch Long. Again, that was an example of him going for Din, and then Long goes in the way.
That's true. But yeah, aside from killing himself with, the oldest trick in the oldest stupid wish in the book, I also wanted to ask Diletan how it feels. We will be talking about Dragonheart at some point, but the
spoilers.
The
spoilers for the show.
The show.
Oh no! The most important dragon film of our time is on our radar. How could they have not seen this coming?
But Long sacrificing himself. Well, I guess he didn't really sacrifice himself. It was an accident.
Yes, he did. I don't think it was an accident. I think he deliberately went in front of the hand to stop Din from turning into gold.
All right.
Which also brings me to another point. Dragons always sacrificing themselves at the end of every movie. It's the running gag of Dragonheart. It happened in here. I'm pretty sure in Merlin on Netflix it also happens there. I'm going to go on a quest. I want to see if I can find out just how many times a dragon has sacrificed itself for the greater good. And it's just...
We'll keep a running tally as we go through stuff on the show.
Yeah, number 1, Wish Dragon. But I'm just kind of sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of them jumping in the way of harm's way when you know from the tone of this movie he's not actually going to die. I mean, you can see it coming a mile away.
Well, that's the other thing is
do
like,
you?
Yeah, do you? Because in Dragonheart, he's gone. He died. He went into the heaven. But in this movie, Long comes back, and that actually surprised me. I honestly thought that when they showed him up in heaven, he was gonna make like a request, like, "Hey, can you just make sure the kid's all right or something?" And the kid was gonna pull through, But the fact that Long made a deal with, I guess you could say, God, to go back and become a wish dragon again and restart his sentence just to help Din, that caught me off guard. I don't know if I would make the same decision in the moment. I mean, if I had to just serve one more master for 3 more wishes, sure. But to do it 10 times again, after it took him thousands of years to do it the first time, I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, that kind of leads into his character growth again. And like one of the points that I had wanted to make when we were writing our notes down for this was he went from being a tyrannical dictator, overlord kind of guy in his mortal life, goes through 9 previous masters, possibly with the same attitude, because that's how he opens up in the movie. He starts still being his old self, basically, like he's not really learning anything from this. And then at the very end, one of the last scenes with him is he appears before Din and says, "Good master, your final wish. And he says it with like there's no sarcasm. It's not a joke. He really means that he's actually calling someone else master and meaning
Yeah.
it. It's just such an important character growth.
I will on your point interject with one thing, which is I don't think he was a tyrannical person. I mean, he wasn't kind, but he was just your substandard emperor from around that time. I mean, he sent his kid off to war, and his kid came back dead. His daughters he married off. He amassed wealth, and he had people build his temples. But aside from that, It didn't really show him being overly cruel, just kind of distant and going through the motions of an emperor.
That's fair, because
mention that a lot of his servants did die through famine and overworking, building his temples and filling his coffers.
But a lot of them did for a lot of different emperors. They weren't really viewed as people.
Tyrannical would have definitely been more hands-on cruel, I guess. He was, like you said, just greedy and distant and just didn't care. Apathetic. The really bad apathetic. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about the ending is that although it was surprising that he, made the deal to come back and do his sentence all over again, it kind of also made me a little upset because, while granted, the teapot finds its way back to the crazy old man so that it can get put to another. All I could think was, oh my God, he's got to do this 10 more times, and that not everyone is going to be as
a good master.
Good master. Yeah. He's gonna have to all the character development that Long went through is probably gonna be destroyed if he was forcing to grant wishes for a moron.
I mean, I guess we can just hope that crazy old man god person is only going to give the teapot to people who deserve it.
That's true, because I mean, I guess if 9 other people before him made wishes, and the world is still fine, I guess, yeah.
So on Dilettante, you don't want to sacrifice yourself for anybody?
No. I prefer to be alive, and for Banta to be alive. Everybody lives. There you go. No sacrifice.
I'd sacrifice myself for you, you selfish jerk.
Dilettante's the bad dragon.
Okay, but let's be real. That's a half sacrifice. That doesn't really count.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Your sacrifice means nothing to him, Bantam.
No, it half means something.
All right, be right back. I'm going to go feed myself to the nearest thing.
Hold on. Let's talk about this.
Okay, talk about it.
I didn't think I get this far, to be honest.
No, it's too late. The damage has been done.
Come on, don't follow the trope. You're better than this. Don't become a tally.
No. Now I'm going off on my my solo adventure with sad music and rain, where I look longingly over my shoulder and then hang my head and fly off into the distance.
Oh God, you've gone full cliche. There's no pulling you back now.
Yep.
Don't worry, he'll return at a future undetermined date to save your kingdom from some evil invader.
At which point...
And that'll be when he sacrifices himself.
At which point we both make eye contact.
No, see, the story goes where you come back to save Dilettante's kingdom, and then Dilettante has to sacrifice himself for you. This is when Dilettante's character arc comes full circle, and he actually sacrifices himself at the end.
Oh my God.
Love it. Print it.
Hate it. Nope. Redact it all.
Alright, cut. That's a wrap. That's perfect. Yep, print it. Send it to production.
So in the end of the movie, when Long comes back to serve 10 more masters, and he gets to say goodbye to Din, basically, would it have been so bad for Din to keep it? Surely Din could be a master, like the first one of the second set? Or at the very least, if he's aware he's going to spend like another 1,000 years to fulfill the next quota of 10, you can spend one human lifetime with Din. You guys obviously became very close.
I mean, hear me out. Hand the teapot to your girlfriend, let her make her 3 wishes, then she hands it back to you, you make 2 wishes, and then wait until your deathbed to make your 3rd. The fact that he granted, as we said, maybe the reason why the god chose him for the teapot is because he's truly like a great human being, but the ease and carefree nature that he like goodbye and then just put him on a cart as it drove off into the sunset. I'm like, there's no way.
Yes.
There's no way.
So part of the movie was definitely how Din can be happy with his situation. He doesn't care about money or any of that. He's happy the way he is. He just wants his friend back. And he has his friend back now. There's nothing more that he wants. He's content with his lot in life. That's a very important part that the movie tries to touch on. I'm just saying that me, personally, I hate goodbyes. And if I could be content with my life the way it is, I would still want to keep Mr. Wish Dragon around just for his friendship, because I don't want to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, who else is gonna buy him his shrimp puffs?
Well, not only that, I don't think Din has control of who gets the teapot, because it seemed like the old man just had the final say of who got Long in the end.
Objection!
When
the bad guy stole it from him.
I know. Whoever holds the pod controls the wishes, and that whole end scene was beyond bonkers.
Yes, but it proves that someone can literally just take the teapot from you and become the new master. So He could have literally handed it off to anyone he wanted. He just put it down on a cart, and I don't even recall him looking to see who was riding the bicycle that was pulling the cart to see that it was the crazy old man. He literally just put it down and just hoped that someone would find it. And it's like, no, give it to your girlfriend.
It was definitely a trust and fate sort of scenario. But to go back to the kerfuffle, I just had a thought, like, was at any point did Din have sole possession of the teapot during the fight?
No, so during the fight, while they're flying around on Long, they were fighting over the teapot a lot. There were times where, he had sole possession of the teapot, and the kick guy couldn't see Long, but he could see where Din was sitting, and even the villain didn't really even seem to give a crap that he couldn't see Long. He was just so focused on, I guess, killing Din and taking the teapot.
Right.
But there were times during the fight that Din had the teapot in both hands and the villain did not, and the villain couldn't see, but was just essentially standing there floating in space.
Okay, so then my thought is there was a time during the fight that Din could have made a wish, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, it wasn't long enough to make a wish. I mean, we're talking like fractions of moments while he's fighting for his life.
Alright, I guess that's fair, because my thought was just, you're the last one before Long disappears. If this evil guy is going to, like, ruin the world with his wishes if he gets his hands on the teapot, just grab the pot, have your last wish be, I wish to neutralize all wishes, and then poof, he's gone.
Yeah, but
evil guy can't abuse it
Yeah,
anymore.
but then Din falls to his death into the ocean, and his best friend's dad is still dead.
That is fair, considering that's what he used his final wish on. He definitely wanted to save it for that. But as far as the ocean falling, I think Din's the type of guy that would sacrifice himself to stop the evil
That's
man.
true. I agree.
Plus, he can master kung fu, fall his way into the water, just like
No, he loses
balance his entire body.
If he went with what,
if he wants to do his other wish.
what Ray said to neutralize the wishes, he wouldn't have super kung fu anymore.
But would that apply to the wishes the other people made, or just his own?
I would assume I said that meaning all
That
of
would
them.
be a super dick move. Can you imagine that there's probably someone who's still alive who maybe like imagine one of the former masters made a wish for like immortality. You know, like he can just live forever, and then all of a sudden one day you just shrivel up and poof into dust, and you're like, what?
With how often immortality gets put off as like it's actually a curse, I think he would be very happy with that, honestly.
I'm probably the only person who will readily admit this, but I think I'd be fine with immortality. Granted, you're going to see everybody you loved and care about die, but you get over it. Yeah, I don't. I'm very sorry to Tan and Ray. I love you both, but if I were immortal, I'd be.
Surely we would wish for group immortality.
Oh yeah, the three of us immortal.
Okay, good. Wait, you sound sarcastic when you said that.
Well, he means it'd just be me and him. You got left out.
No, Dilatan's part of it.
Damn straight.
We are the three amigos, after all. Okay, so now I kind of want to get into something pretty heavy.
Uh-oh. Gotta get close to the mic for the heavy stuff.
We're kind of jumping around from place to place in the movie. But when he comes home and during the whole, angry part of the movie where Din is about to, fine, I'll just wish for money. When he comes home and he snaps at his mom and kind of just realizes like, oh, I'm being a dick to my mother, and his mom hugs him, and that part absolutely killed me. I will admit to full on tears. The mom basically acknowledging that they haven't had the best life and that she's doing the best she can, that destroyed me. And I like that. Every once in a while a movie can completely just, battering ram down my doors and make me feel. And I really like that.
Do you remember what was said, what the line was?
I don't, because I was too busy being sad.
Yeah, it was like she just wanted what's best for him, and then he said something. I can't remember what the line was. No, it's not super important. Anything else we want to bring up?
Not that I can think of.
All right, so Dilatan, overall, what would you rate this movie? And would you? I guess we already are recommending it, but would you recommend it to like your close personal friends?
Absolutely. A lot of my friends do have children of their own. I know they're going to be easily distracted by this movie. This is the one you just put on, and they will be glued to that screen for an hour and a half with how flashy and colorful it is. I will probably give it a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10? All right. Bantam?
10 out of 10.
All right. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, maybe 9. Like, I definitely loved it, but I understand I'm biased, so I'm kind of being... I don't know. I'm withholding stars just because I understand I'm biased. And that, like I said, it's very spastic. It's kind of predictable. But overall, it was very enjoyable, even if you could see the story coming from
the fact
all
that
away.
the two of you gave it an 8 out of 10 kind of meshes well with what audiences gave it on Rotten Tomatoes. So as soon as we had finished watching the movie, I immediately went to Rotten Tomatoes because I wanted to see what other people thought. And we all know that professional, I say that in the giantest quotes ever, reviewers are mostly idiots. The audience score is all that you really should ever pay attention to when you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes. And the audience gave it an 81%, looking at it currently. The quote-unquote professional reviewers gave it a 65%, so at least it still got a fresh rating. But a lot of the negative reviews were like, oh, it's a ripoff of Aladdin. The story's boring. It's like it was made for kids. And it's like, yes, it was.
It was definitely made from kids. You should have known this
It
going
was made
into it.
from kids?
For kids, sorry. Made by kids, for
There
kids.
you go.
You mean to tell me those professional critics who are probably paid by Disney are giving this Aladdin ripoff movie a negative review?
I do actually subscribe to that conspiracy theory. I really do. That there are people where Disney is like, how dare a studio make a wonderful anime? Because keep in mind, this came out, couple months after Raya and the Last Dragon, and I actually would 100% believe that Disney had some people who were like, hey, can you leave a negative review on this? Like you've got a magazine or a website, whatever. I mean, like this negative review right here, absolutely enrages me. And she's listed as a top critic, and her review is, I feel so indifferent about this whole thing. I forgot it as soon as I saw it. Like, shut up.
Yeah, this movie is not as easily forgettable as she's pointing it out to be. It's way, like, for one thing, the color palette alone, I don't know why I want to fixate on this, but most movies these days are so very fixated on their browns, their grays, trying to make it look more gloomy or I guess quote realistic. But this one is bright as all hell, including with Long, who's just like the brightest pink you could ever imagine.
It's obviously salmon.
I actually really did like his coloring too, because like at first you're like, oh my god, it's like a stuffed animal come to life, but it really worked because no one else can see him, but it definitely made it really hard to look at anything. Like my eyes wander. I watch the background. I look at nonsense, and notice stupid things that very few other people would. But when he was on screen, I was glued to him.
Okay, I guess. If you had to, just to try and be fair, if you had to dock the movie for something, what was something you didn't like about it?
I mean, I didn't really like the ending. Again, I would have been much happier. It would have been much more of a, happy ending for me if he did get to keep Long. Maybe Long got a second chance at living a decent life so that he could be judged getting back into heaven at that point. So maybe he comes back and he's human. Maybe he just
He marries Din's mom.
or even just that he gets to stay with Din until he decides to finally cross over or something. I didn't like the I didn't like the fact that after working so, I guess you could say, hard at fulfilling 3 wishes for 10 people, so 30 wishes, with how indecisive people can be, you can imagine that some of those were probably brutal, that he was just like, oh no, you gotta send me back. Yeah, I'll do my entire sentence over again. It's like, that's not fair. Like, the god should have at least been like, no, just go down there and take care of it. And just the mere fact that he was willing to sacrifice everything to go back and save Din and fix things should have been enough for him. He has clearly shown that he has repented, that he is a good person now, and that he deserves to get into heaven. He shouldn't have to go through the sentence again.
So I don't know enough about Chinese mythology to say this for certain, but I'm pretty sure the Chinese gods were not kind.
I mean, that's fair of a lot of gods. That's true.
So thank you for joining us as we review and then discuss The Wish Dragon on Netflix. Next episode, we will be reviewing a book, Tooth and Claw by Joe Walton. These 2 episodes should be going up at the same time. So I guess we'll see you there.
All right.
I don't know. Don't listen to the next episode if you want to read the book first.
Yeah, so next episode, as he said, is Tooth and Claw. If you're interested in following along with us, then definitely do not listen to episode 2 until you've read the book.
Moving forward, we'll actually have time between episodes where we'll announce the book and then you can read it before the episode comes out. Oh, this is so terrible.
It's because you didn't write a script.
It's because we're ad-libbing this. Yes, let's never do this again.
Well, it's the first episode. That's fine.
So we'll get a more concrete style, I guess, as we go through. But yeah, shit. I'm like on the edge of my seat, like figuratively, being like, I'm gonna do this like in character, like, thank you for joining us in our cabin, young travelers. I'm Ray. But I don't know if we want to be that in character for this.
Yeah,
we haven't been in that character to the entire podcast. It seemed really out of place.
I mean, maybe we'll eventually grow into being in character.
Maybe.
As we get used to it. But I guess for now, so once again, thank you for joining us. I'm Ray.
I am Diletan, the dragon of the land.
And I am Bantam, dragon of the air.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.